Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Kodesh. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS, or the true leaders of Israel today. And salutations to all of the Akim who do this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedoms to do so, as well as the scattered Israelites who come looking like the heathen, but are not, by way of their forefathers' seeds, who are Israelite men. The true name of the Most High is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahushai. And the Lord's holy chosen people are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as the ones who suffer under the curses in the book of Deuteronomy. My name is Akalio, and this video is about the prophecy of World War III. Revelation chapter 11 and verse 14. The second woe is past, talking about World War II. And behold, the third woe cometh quickly, which is talking about World War III. So World War III is one of these major prophecies to happen at the end of this kingdom, which this kingdom is the kingdom of the wicked, who are the Edomites, who are the so-called white people. All right, so right now we have some very, very hot news, man, and some current developments literally happening in real time right now, because these are the days that we're in, right? We're approaching the end of Esau's kingdom. So we're going to be living through, you know, these final prophecies and the build up towards their manifestation, right? Things gradually happen over time, but things have been gradually happening over time, but now we're in that time where these prophecies are building up very, very close to their fulfillment. And right now, the World War III prophecy and this buildup is real hot, really, really hot. Okay, so firstly, from Fox News, so Esau's reporting this on their mainstream media, right? Esau being the so-called white man. So Iran at full-scale war with US and allies, Iran's president declares. So the declaration has been made officially. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said Saturday his country is in full-scale war with the US, the State of Israel, and Europe ahead of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's meeting Monday with US President Donald Trump. So right now, we can see the two sides that are bucking heads, right? You have America and its allies, NATO and the EU, plus the State of Israel, which has already been deemed an unofficial member of NATO on one end, right? And then you have Russia and Russia's allies on the other end, which we know Russia's allies by way of looking at the BRICS nations, BRICS, and we know that based off of the scriptures, which then we match with real-time events, Iran is Russia's top ally. All right, and Iran is mentioned in the scriptures, man, regarding this situation twice, and I'll bring it out. Okay, so full-scale war. So let's see what they have to say
with that topic here, as we are now at 9:02 on the East Coast and 6:02 on the West Coast. Take a look at this here, as Iran's president saying this weekend that his country is in a full-scale war with the U.S., Israel, and Europe. The remarks by President Masoud Pezeshkian were published on the website of the country's supreme leader, Khamenei. He says, in part, quote, "We are in a full-scale war with the U.S., Israel, and Europe. They don't want our country to remain stable." Now,
so this has been officially posted and announced by Iran. All right, this isn't like coming from, you know, underground news sites or anything like that, which those are relevant as well. All right, everything isn't reported by Esau, but this is a glaring sign of what is happening. So this year, I believe it was, I'm pretty sure it was this year, in Iran, they were marching through the streets. The Iranian military were marching through the streets talking about how they're ready to face off against the State of Israel. So Iran has had this spirit put upon them from Yahweh Shemishai to fight and to go to war. And they're ready, man. All right, you can see the spirit there, okay, that the Lord has put upon them. They're ready to go. So this is, you know, the buildup
was just a portion of this and is a much larger statement that was made. Now, I want to pop this up on your screen as well, a live look over Mar-a-Lago as these remarks come just ahead of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's meeting with President Trump there in Florida tomorrow. Iran's president.
So like this now, this is today now, so which is the tomorrow that he was talking about. So that is also, you know, in talks of. But we've gotten, all right, so like the video cut, but let's listen to what more is being said here.
Josh, nice to be with you and happy holidays.
Happy holidays. And I did want to ask you here first. We saw that quote, of course, translated there, and essentially it translates to quote unquote full-scale war. What do you make of that, and what does Iran's president mean that there is a full-scale war with the U.S. and allies?
So, Josh, really interesting set of developments with the statement by the Iranian president. And if the translation is accurate, and if the term or the phrase really is full-scale war, clearly Iran is not mobilized for that, at least not yet, in terms of going on some kind of offensive campaign against its neighbors in the region, or even Israel a little further afield. And certainly Iran cannot touch the United States directly from a quote unquote war perspective. So why make this kind of aggressive and bold comment now? As you mentioned at the top of the
because the Lord is putting the spirit upon the heathen to go to war, to fulfill prophecy, right? So let's venture into the scriptures regarding Iran. So in 2 Esdras chapter 15 and verse 30, it says, "Also the Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and they shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians." So these Carmanians, they're going to be going forth raging in wrath, right? They're going to be going to war, and they're going to waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians, which is referring to the Edomites, the so-called white men here. All right, so now who are these Carmanians? Well, we can go to Google and the AI will already show us. Carmanians were an ancient warlike people from the historical region of Carmania, located in modern-day southeastern Iran. All right, so it says they were a warlike people. All right, and look at the spirit that the Lord has put upon Iran right now. Okay, so then it says, known for their martial prowess, they were linked to Persian culture. The Persians are now known as the Iranians. Okay, so this is where it has traditionally been taken from, this information from iranicaonline.org. Carmania region east of Fars province, approximately equivalent to modern Kerman, the old Persian form Karmana rendered as Elamite. So not only is Iran Persia, right? But we also know that they are the biblical Elamites. All right, that's what it's saying here. Okay, let's see what else it has to say. High official of Carmania. The old Persian ethnic name Carmanian is reflected in Elamite. Okay, so that's it right there. All right, we got the answer. So this here, when it's talking about the Carmanians in 2 Esdras 15 and verse 30, is talking about Iran. All right, and they're going to war. Okay, and Iran is allied with Russia, right? Which we know in Ezekiel 38 and verse 2, it says, "Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him," which is talking about the Russians, "as they dwell in the land today that Gog and Magog once dwelt." Okay, they're not the original Gog and Magog. The Russians are Edomites, so-called white people. "And thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal." So the Lord is against Russia, right? They're Edomites. "And I'll turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I'll bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor." All right, so they're going to be going to war. The Lord is going to put the spirit upon them to go to war. And this is what we're literally witnessing in real time. Okay, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. So they're going to be going to war with a great company, their alliance. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Persia is Iran, who are the Elamites, who are the Carmanians. Okay? Ethiopia and Libya referring to the so-called African nations, referring to the Hamites, with them, all of them with shield and helmet. All right? So these are the allies that are mentioned here. I'm going to read the rest, but first I want to go to the next article. All right, so Iran has been identified, man. They're going to be going to war, those Carmanians. So now, further updates of what is transpiring, right? Here it is from RT News today, December 25th, 2025. Netanyahu to ask Trump for more strikes on Iran. So we've received word that this meeting was going to take place. And so it appears to have, I think, the Israeli Prime Minister is reportedly set to request Washington support for new military action against Tehran's ballistic missile program. All right, so Iran being top ally to Russia. Okay, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reportedly plans to ask US President Donald Trump to approve or join new military strikes against Iran's ballistic missile facilities. The Washington Post has claimed ahead of their meeting on Monday. Okay. In June, the US and Israel conducted a joint airstrike campaign against Iranian nuclear sites. The attack was initiated despite prior assessments from US intelligence and the International Atomic Energy Agency, which found no evidence that Iran was actively building a nuclear weapon. And so they've been attacking Iran, right? There was 1 year, I don't remember the year it was. It was a year in the 2020s, though, where they assaulted and unalived some kind of military general or somebody along those lines, more than once as well. All right, so it is something that has been building up. I want to get to, or rather read this point here. All right, Monday's meeting comes amid visible strain between the two leaders. CNN has reported that Trump has grown wary of Israeli actions and that their relationship has become strained as Netanyahu has repeatedly asked Trump to approve more aggressive military actions in the region this year. It's not becoming strained. That's all just theater, right? And we know, based off of Bible prophecy, that the state of Israel is going to draw America out to war. All right, but let's read this next point. A fresh point of friction emerged last week when the state of Israel unilaterally recognized the breakaway region of Somaliland, a move condemned by bodies like the African Union and Arab League and nations including Turkey and Saudi Arabia. So look at this. Condemned by the African Union, all right, so the African nations, right? Going back to Ezekiel 38, it talks about these Hamite nations, man, these so-called Africans being aligned with Russia, right? Then as well, it says, and Arab League, and nations including Turkey and Saudi Arabia. Now, let's go back to Ezekiel 38 and read the rest of it, where now in verse 6 it says, Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee, right? Still talking about the alliance. So this is talking about Turkey, right? Turkey is going to join with Russia and Russia's alliance, right? And this is the same breakdown as Ezekiel 2. Turkey now dwells in the land, where Gomer and Togarmah once dwelt, right? That is now known as Turkey, okay? So Turkey is a part of NATO. Turkey is also the second largest military of NATO, and they are going to break off from NATO, America, and the EU, and they're going to join with Russia and Russia's allies. And we're already seeing that, right, with the that relationship breaking apart because Turkey has spoken very boldly against the state of Israel. They're completely against them. Okay, so this here speaks to, the spirit of prophecy happening where, these countries, these nations are looking towards, America and the state of Israel sideways. Okay, so the African Union, the Hamite nations, Arab League, all right, those Arab nations and nations including Turkey and Saudi Arabia, all right. And then also mentioning the Arabs, let's go back to 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and read at verse 28. Behold, an horrible vision and the appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, right? And the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, and all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Right, the so-called Arabs are going to be going to war, right? And this is what it's referred to. Okay, also the Carmanians, reading this again, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. So they're going to fight against those Assyrians, men, which I mentioned before, is talking about those so-called white people, because that alliance on the other side, right, is an Edomite alliance. Majorly, predominantly, right? You have America, NATO, the EU, the State of Israel. These are all so-called white dominant nations, the Edomites, okay? Plus Australia is attached to them, New Zealand, right? Edomite dominated countries. And then they have, you know, the relationship with Japan and Taiwan, okay? But that is an Edomite alliance. And then you see who they allow into NATO as well. It's all Edomite countries, right? So-called white countries. Right, so they're going to go be against them, and so seeing, you know, reading this, that's the situation at hand, right, where the Lord is putting the Spirit upon them to feel some type of way about the opposing end. Okay, so when asked if Washington would follow Israel's lead, Trump pointedly told the New York Post no, which once again, that is theater. All right, because we know, based off of Bible prophecy, that the least of the flock shall draw them out. Okay. Jeremiah 54. No, Jeremiah 50 and verse 45. Therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord that he had taken against Babylon, which is America, and his purposes that he had purposed against the land of the Chaldeans, talking about those Edomites, right? Those so-called white people. Surely the least of the flock, talking about the state of Israel, right, shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them, because we know what's going to happen. They're going to lose World War III, right? America is going to lose World War III, and the state of Israel being attached to them will lose with them, okay? And so this is saying the state of Israel, the tribe of Amalek, all right, which is a tribe of Esau, they're going to draw out America to go to war. So any kinds of talks about any kind of friction or Trump talking about no or whatever, I mean, that is completely irrelevant, because we know what's going to happen based off of Bible prophecy. All right, so times are hot, man. Times are very hot, okay? Just looking at the overall situation of it all as well, China is apparently doing warlike simulations of the Caribbean Sea with the whole situation of America, taking up residence in the Caribbean Sea for the whole Venezuela situation. And then Trump also made mention of Colombia the other day. And all of this is going to eventually lead towards the so-called Middle East, Western Asia, because that is where it's really going to be fought at. All right, and we know that based off of Bible prophecy, that the main war is going to take place over there in the book of Joel chapter 2 and verse 20. It says, but I will remove far off from you the northern army, talking about the US, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, which is talking about the land of Saudi Arabia, with his face toward the east sea, the Euphrates river, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea, which is the Red Sea, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he hath done great things. All right, so once again, we know they're going to lose, right? But the main area of contention, right, when World War III is popping off in its peak, heading towards the end of it, of the missiles being shot towards America, all right, it's going to be over there. So everything else we're seeing right now with it is all, adding to it, building up towards it, but that's going to be the main area, all right, over there in Western Asia. All right, and so then here, breaking news as well, the lightning, right? So you can see Putin wants Ukraine launched 91 kamikaze drones at Putin's state residence. Trump shocked by Ukrainian attack on Putin's residence. So this is literally happening in real time right now. All right, it's also saying something about Trump and Putin hold positive call and whatever else. But this is the breaking news right now. Something has happened. And so we'll just see how this continues to build. All right, but the prophecy is clear of where all things are heading towards. Okay, and What else is on the table? The market chip, which is the mark of the beast. So keep eyes on that as well. Okay, so that's it for now. Current update. With that, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shemi Shai, by Shema Kodesh. Shalom.